A bustling space station's notorious saloon turns into a battleground of cultural clashes. Boisterous humans ignite tensions with warrior felinx, and the outcome is unpredictable. When a simple act of friendship shatters centuries-old racial boundaries, unity transforms hostility into harmony. Are you prepared to question your own divisions and embrace ethical dilemmas head-on? If you want to dive into real stories of parallel realities every day, in enigmatic, technological worlds that are completely different from our planet, subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Well, let's go. The sprawling Melith space station buzzed with perpetual activity. Its vast corridors and chambers teemed with a variety of beings from across the galaxy, a testament to the station's importance as a central hub for trade, diplomacy, and, more often than not, mischief. Nestled deep within this bustling microcosm was the Melith Saloon, a haven for those seeking solace in a drink and the ambient clatter of conversation crafted by an eclectic ensemble of extraterrestrial species. The saloon was more than a bar. It was a living, breathing entity, pulsing with the life forces of its varied clientele. The walls, adorned with relics from countless worlds, gleamed under the multi-hued glow of bioluminescent lights, casting an otherworldly ambiance over the patrons. Every corner held its own secrets, whispered in a myriad of alien tongues, while an advanced AI, encased in a sleek, metallic frame that hovered effortlessly, smoothly handled orders and ensured that peace, or something vaguely resembling it, was maintained. It was into this vibrant yet segregated space that Jake and his human crew walked. Jake, a rugged man in his early 30s with a dusting of space-weary stubble, carried an air of irreverent confidence. His icy blue eyes held a warmth that contrasted sharply with his formidable physique, honed from years of spacefaring and combat. Alongside him was his crew. Mira, the mechanic with a penchant for improvised tech and a gaze as sharp as her wit. Leon, the medic whose gentle hands betrayed a past of violence. And Kara, the pilot with nerves of steel and a heart of gold hidden beneath her sardonic exterior. Their infectious energy cut through the otherwise segregated atmosphere like a blade. They laughed, raised their glasses high, and exchanged boisterous toasts, invading the space with a warmth and camaraderie that was seldom seen in the Melith Saloon. Used to sticking to their own kind, the other patrons watched the humans with a mixture of curiosity and disdain, their interactions a stark contrast to the relatively isolated coexistence that had persisted for so long. The air crackled with the unspoken tensions of various factions and races, each holding their own space like magnets repelling one another. Nearest to the bar, the Grellocs, hulking, reptilian creatures with glistening scales and piercing yellow eyes, growled softly in their guttural language, eyeing the humans warily. Along the neon-lit back wall, the ethereal Darwinians, with their translucent skin and soft, luminescent glow, communicated in melodic waves of sound and light, their elegance a stark contrast to the rough and tumble atmosphere. In a booth tucked away in the corner, the reclusive Lorenians, small, robed figures with porcelain-like masks concealing their faces, sat in contemplative silence, only their eyes visible beneath their hoods. As the minutes ticked by, the humans' lively demeanor soon sparked friction with the felinx, a race of disciplined, feline warriors renowned for their martial prowess and fiercely independent culture. The felinx, with their lean, muscular frames, fur varying from deep black to fiery red, and eyes that glowed with predatory intelligence, were not ones to shy away from confrontation. What began as a seemingly trivial dispute over a table escalated rapidly. The initial grumblings and glares gave way to raised voices, and in the blink of an eye, a fierce brawl erupted. Fur flew, and the air rang with the clash of fists and the yowls of combat. It was in the midst of this chaos that Jake found himself face to face with a towering felinx combatant, whose orange and black striped fur bristled with animosity. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he ducked and weaved, his years of experience informing every move. His opponent was fast, striking with a precision that only a lifetime of disciplined training could produce. But Jake was no slouch. His desperation and skill fused into a symphony of survival. He barely registered Myra's shouts or the metallic ring of crashing stools as the two fought for dominance. In a moment of pure instinct, Jake feinted to the left and delivered a powerful uppercut, sending the felinx reeling. The saloon seemed to hold its collective breath as the massive feline warrior staggered, eyes wide in shock. Jake, drenched in sweat and heart still racing, extended a hand in friendship to his defeated opponent, offering a drink as a gesture of goodwill. This audacious act sowed the first seeds of doubt among the felinx, challenging their preconceived notions about humans. For a moment, the saloon was eerily silent, the gravity of Jake's gesture hanging in the air. Slowly, the felinx warrior accepted Jake's hand, and the two sat down to share a drink, breaking bread where once there was only enmity. From a darkened corner, Lumic watched with wide-eyed fascination. A young Lorian, Lumic was known for their reclusive nature. Their species thrived in solitude and introspection, possessing a delicate frame adorned with intricate, iridescent patterns that shimmered in varying hues depending on their emotions. Lumic's large, soulful eyes and cautious demeanor hid a mind brimming with curiosity. As the bond between Jake and the felinx warrior strengthened with each shared story and drink, Lumic's trepidation transformed into a quiet resolve. Taking a bold step, they chose to approach the humans cautiously, their slender fingers tapping the rhythm of their nervous heartbeat against the bar's surface. It was uncharted territory, but perhaps it was time for the Lorenians to step into the light of interaction. Initially reserved, Lumic observed the humans from a distance. Their intrinsic shyness began to melt away as the humans welcomed them into their fold with open arms. Jake's affable nature and the crew's genuine warmth created a safe haven for Lumic, allowing them to gradually reveal the depths of their knowledge and experiences. As Lumic's presence became a fixture among the humans, other species in the saloon began to take notice. Whispers of doubt and hesitancy swept through the room, yet so did an undercurrent of curiosity. The once impassable barriers of tradition and prejudice began to crack, and the saloon slowly transformed into a melting pot of interactions. The patrons, influenced by the blossoming unity, started to venture beyond their comfort zones, drawn by the magnetic pull of genuine connection. However, the journey was far from over. Just as the saloon began to settle into a rhythm of unlikely alliances, it was thrown into disarray by the arrival of the sheer plumes, a species of enigmatic, floating entities with mesmerizing bioluminescence. Their forms, ever shifting and ethereal, emitted a hypnotic glow that danced like iridescent flames. Their eerie, haunting melodies filled the air, weaving a tapestry of sound that tugged at the very soul. The Melith Saloon, a nexus of cultures within the bustling space station, had long been a powder keg of simmering tensions. When Jake and his human crew arrived, their boisterous demeanor set off sparks in the brittle atmosphere. The humans' infectious laughter and gregarious energy injected a palpable sense of life into the establishment. Yet, beneath the saloon's vibrant tapestry, centuries-old prejudices and traditions lay entrenched, ready to flare up at the slightest provocation. It was against this backdrop of simmering unease that a simple act, claiming a table, ignited the conflict. Jake and his friends, unaware of the cultural significance, took a seat at a table traditionally reserved for the felinx, a proud and disciplined race of feline warriors. The felinx observed with narrowed eyes, their sleek, muscled forms coiled with a tense readiness. Raised in a culture that revered territory and honor, they felt the humans' incursion as a direct affront, an insult that could not go unchallenged. One towering felinx combatant, his fur a pattern of tawny stripes interrupted by battle scars, stepped forward. His eyes, a piercing yellow, locked onto Jake with barely concealed fury. The room seemed to hold its breath as the initial, polite request to vacate the table evolved into a sharp exchange. Voices rose, and the translation devices embedded in the walls of the saloon struggled to keep pace with the escalating volume. A confrontation was inevitable. The felinx warrior lunged at Jake with a feline grace that belied his size. What ensued was a battle not just of physical might, but of wills and ideologies. Jake met the onslaught with a mix of desperate survival instincts and raw skill, honed through years of scrapes in various parts of the galaxy. Their combat moved with a choreography of clenched fists and dodged blows, turning the saloon into a chaotic arena. Other patrons retreated to the edges, some cheering, some horrified, but all unable to look away. The felinx warrior's movements were fluid, lethal, each swipe of his claws a demonstration of his martial heritage. Jake, on the other hand, fought with a grounded determination, using the environment to his advantage. Chairs were upturned, tables splintered, and drinks spilled as they clashed. The sound was a cacophony of primal yells and the dull thud of impacts. The advanced AI that managed the bar emitted a frantic series of warnings, its typically soothing monotone tinged with urgency, attempting to contain the situation. Against all odds, Jake managed to wrestle the felinx to the floor, his breath heaving, face glistening with sweat. His victory, however, was met with a collective gasp from the onlookers. The felinx aligned their combat with honor. Defeat meant disgrace. But then, breaking every norm of this adhered to cultural script, Jake extended his hand, offering to help his opponent up. Silence stretched, taut and expectant, across the saloon. The felinx warrior, bloodied yet not broken, eyed the extended hand. This was uncharted territory. Accepting help from an adversary was not just uncommon, it was unheard of. Through narrowed eyes, a decision was made. He accepted the gesture. The simple act of being offered a drink right after, a human sign of camaraderie, sowed seeds of doubt among the observing felinx. Around the room, the reactions were varied and deeply personal. The saloon, a microcosm of the broader galactic community, began its slow shift. Each species held onto ancient biases. The Urians, humanoid but with crystalline skin, watched with reserved skepticism. The Arthurians, amphibious beings often trading in covert information, exchanged seemingly nonchalant glances, their minds calculating the potential shifts in alliances. Even the Ulthar, a species of sentient plants who communicated through subtle pheromones and light, emitted transient pulses of contemplation. Jake's audacity challenged entrenched assumptions. Among the patrons stood Lumic, a young Lorian whose lanky form and large, expressive eyes marked them instantaneously. Loren were inherently shy, ensconced in their own thoughts and worlds. Lumic had always watched from the peripheries, more comfortable observing than participating. Yet, something in Jake's actions stirred a burgeoning curiosity within him. The following days in the Melith saloon were a study in gradual transformation. Jake, now something of an unwilling celebrity among the residents, made it a point to engage with various species, learning their customs and attempting, clumsily but earnestly, to bridge divides. Lumic, driven by an inner impulse, decided to approach the humans. It was a tentative and awkward interaction at first. The humans, unaccustomed but willing, welcomed Lumic into their fold, a reluctant yet growing camaraderie forming. The cultural rifts began to show signs of mending. Disputes that once might have ended in violent confrontation were now approached with cautious dialogue. Lumic found himself drawn into conversations that ranged from the mundane, human food and drink preferences, to the deeply personal, narratives of loss and hope encapsulated in each being's experiences. This convergence was most viscerally felt during the spontaneous bouts of storytelling and song that began to characterize the evenings at the saloon. Nestled in the grungy comfort of the bar, glowing softly under ambient light that shifted hues in response to emotional tones, Jake's harmonica playing became a central highlight. Its haunting notes wove stories of Earth, ancient ballads, tales of spacefaring courage, and wistful hymns of lost love. Lumic and the felinx, initially wary of the impromptu concerts, began to appreciate these songs' simplicity and emotional depth. The rhythm of each melody became a shared language, transcending words and ingrained prejudices. Through music and shared stories, the saloon's inhabitants found common ground. The barriers, once as solid as bulkheads, started to seem permeable, allowing empathy and understanding to seep through. Yet, beneath this burgeoning unity lay the undercurrents of potential peril and unresolved conflict. The galactic politics that framed their existence could not be easily altered by the actions within a single room. Skeptics remained. Those who viewed Jake's actions as a fleeting anomaly rather than a tide-turning event. Whispers of larger, more imposing threats, often drowned in the saloon's jovial noise, hinted at matters that would require a deeper, more sustained collective effort to resolve. Thus, the cultural melting pot of the Melith Saloon became not just a symbol of a fragile peace but also a crucible for potential alliances capable of facing interstellar challenges. Amidst all the uncertainty, one thing was clear. The human presence had catalyzed a shift, a tentative but hopeful move toward a more integrated communal fabric. And yet, the harmony in the saloon was delicate, as fragile as the thin glass from which they drank. The reverberations of the saloon brawl echoed through the bustling space station long after the physical scars faded. The felinx and humans continued to exchange wary glances, but there was an unspoken acknowledgement of each other's strength and honor. Around this time, an unexpected observer began to take a keen interest in the unfolding dynamics. Lumic, a young Lorian, usually shrouded in their characteristic reclusiveness, watched with wide-eyed fascination. Lorians were ethereal beings, known for their ability to channel empathic energy, subtly influencing the emotions of those around them. With lavender-tinted skin that glowed faintly under the dim lighting of the saloon and a pair of serene, opaline eyes, Lumic stood out, even among the station's diverse populace. Slowly, Lumic's curiosity overpowered their ingrained shyness. As the humans celebrated their small victory, Lumic approached cautiously, their telltale amethyst robes fluttering silently. Jake noticed Lumic first. He met the Lorian's eyes and offered a broad, inviting grin. This simple, welcoming gesture disarmed Lumic's fears. They stepped forward deliberately and, after a few moments of hesitation, joined the jubilant human circle. The humans, in their characteristic fashion, embraced Lumic wholeheartedly, making the Lorian feel surprisingly at ease. This small victory of inclusivity did not go unnoticed. Other patrons, initially skeptical and perhaps even envious, began to observe with renewed interest. Among them was Zaylor, a grumpy but good-hearted Tyrock from the asteroid colonies, and Valora, an inquisitive insectoid from the lush planet Savoria, who marveled at Earth's flora and fauna. The barrier separating species, built on years of tradition and prejudice, started to show its first cracks. The saloon started transforming into a melting pot. Over the next few weeks, the air was thick with an amalgamation of languages, odors, and cultures. The advanced AI that once handled orders now found itself adapting to an ever-increasing array of requests, cataloging newfound drinks and culinary tastes. The bustling conversations grew louder and more diverse, reflective of the melting pot the Melith Saloon was steadily becoming. However, this unfolding harmony was put to the test sooner than anyone expected. One fateful evening, the atmosphere in the saloon shifted entirely with the arrival of the sheer plumes. a species shrouded in mystery and marked by their mesmerizing bioluminescence. Floating into the room, their translucent forms glowed with an ever-changing pattern of colors, driven by their emotional states. The silence that followed their entrance was heavy with anticipation and anxiety. To break the tension, Jake did something entirely unexpected. He pulled out a small, battered harmonica from his pocket. He stared at the sheer plumes, his eyes reflecting their ebbing lights, and began to play. The notes flowed smoothly, matching the cadence of the plumes' emitted sounds. Slowly, the sheer plumes responded. They shifted, their colors syncing with the melody, creating an impromptu symphony that reverberated through the saloon. The sight was both entrancing and surreal, and the tension melted into awe. As the unprecedented musical moment reached its zenith, a new danger emerged. A hulking creature stormed into the saloon, its intent clearly hostile. A Zelgeran enforcer, notorious for their imposing frames and brute strength, towered over the patrons, casting a formidable shadow. Whispers of dread spread quickly, as the station had a complicated history with the Zelgeran, often associated with enforcing draconian policies and suppressing dissent. Jake didn't hesitate. His mediatory instincts kicked in as he approached the Zelgeran enforcer unarmed, his heart pounding yet steadfast. Through sheer empathy and understanding, qualities often overlooked in the presence of raw strength, Jake engaged the enforcer in a dialogue. His words were calm and measured, aiming to tap into the creature's emotions rather than its reason. He spoke of unity, the growing bonds within the saloon, and the potential for harmony even in their multifaceted, conflict-ridden universe. To everyone's astonishment, the Zelgeran's aggression began to wane. The creature's posture relaxed marginally, and the threatening aura diminished. Jake's negotiation was not polished by any interstellar diplomatic training but rather fueled by genuine belief in the unity they were beginning to foster. In a rare display of respect, the Zelgeran nodded before retreating, leaving behind a saloon filled with newfound hope and respect for the human peacemaker. The saloon, teetering on the brink of chaos minutes before, now buzzed with quiet contemplation. The successful diffusing of the potential threat served as a powerful testament to the impact of empathy and mutual understanding. For the first time, long-standing enemies found themselves reluctantly admiring Jake's bravery and unexpected finesse in handling such volatile situations. As the hours turned into days, the Melith Saloon continued to evolve. Stories of the night's events spread like wildfire, drawing visitors from across the galaxy, eager to witness this microcosm of interstellar peace. They came with their own stories, traditions, and prejudices, each seeking to see if the tales were true. The saloon teemed with an eclectic blend of individuals, from stoic Orthian merchants to whimsical Xylarian bards. Among them was Haran, an enigmatic Zeldorian researcher with piercing blue, hyper-focused eyes and a penchant for cataloging historical anomalies. Haran's arrival signified a shift in the saloon's status. What was once a mere watering hole had become a living experiment in diplomacy and coexistence. Watching from the sidelines, Lumek experienced a profound internal evolution. The young Lorian, once a detached observer, had become an integral part of something monumental. Lumek's empathic abilities grew sharper, sensing the emotional tapestry being woven within the saloon. Through subtle emotional guidance, Lumek helped diffuse small conflicts, nurture burgeoning friendships, and foster an atmosphere of mutual respect. Valora, the insectoid from Savoria, too found herself entangled in this earnest experimentation of unity. Valora's natural curiosity about Earth's lifeforms soon grew into a broader intrigue for human culture and philosophy. Frequent conversations with Jake and his crew not only expanded her knowledge but deepened her appreciation for the values driving these unlikely ambassadors of unity. Zaylor, the Tyrok, who initially kept to himself, gradually opened up. His gruff exterior hid a heart touched by the warmth and openness displayed by the humans. Jake's acts of kindness, often mundane yet profoundly impactful, began to chip away at Zaller's entrenched cynicism. They shared drinks, stories, and occasional disagreements, each encounter leaving an indelible mark on the aging Tyrock. This incremental transformation had its own set of complexities and ethical dilemmas. As interspecies friendships grew, so did the imagined and real political ramifications. As the Melith saloon began to adjust to its new harmony, an undercurrent of tension lingered. The newfound alliances were fragile, like the first thin ice of winter. Any sudden movement could shatter the delicate balance. The saloon buzzed with an electric mix of anticipation and uncertainty as patrons from across the galaxy continued their mingling. However, this veiled unease was soon brought to the forefront by the unexpected arrival of the Sheer Plumes. The Sheer Plumes were entities shrouded in mystery. They hovered effortlessly above the ground, illuminated by a mesmerizing, ever-shifting bioluminescence that entranced anyone who dared to gaze upon them. Their bodies were amorphous, composed of a plasma-like substance that glowed in a spectrum of ethereal colors, and their voices, an eerie, melodic hum that unfurled from them like an invisible fog, seemed to tug at the very soul of the listener. The saloon grew silent as the Sheer Plumes entered, their harmonics filling the air with a resonance that evoked both wonder and a strange sense of foreboding. The felinx warriors' ears twitched in agitation, and the once curious glances exchanged by various species turned into wary stares. Conversations halted, causing the atmosphere to congeal into a tense standoff of uncertainty. Jake, ever the diplomat, keenly observed the situation. He had learned that empathy often bridged the gap between disparate cultures, and he would need every ounce of it now. Slowly, he pulled out his worn harmonica, a relic from Earth, capable of transforming mundane moments into extraordinary ones. The first notes he played were tentative, echoing the dissonant melody emitted by the Sheer Plumes. The hum of the alien entities paused momentarily, almost as if they were surprised by this imitation. Undeterred, Jake continued, his harmonica weaving through the enigmatic tones and mimicking the Sheer Plumes' unearthly sounds. Bit by bit, as the haunting melody unraveled, a sort of resonance formed between Jake's music and the Sheer Plumes' harmonics. Patrons of the saloon watched in breathless anticipation. The atmosphere's shift was palpable. Curiosity began replacing the suspicion that had filled the room. And then, like a slow dawn breaking the night, the Sheer Plumes started to harmonize with Jake, their bioluminescence flickering in sync with the harmonica's rhythm. It was an impromptu symphony, a cacophony transforming into an exquisite unity. However, the true test of this burgeoning harmony came with the arrival of an enormous, solitary creature. It stormed into the saloon with a thunderous crash, its hostility as palpable as its towering presence. This creature was a Dith warrior, a race known for their territorial instincts and formidable combat skills. It was unlike anything the saloon had seen before, standing well over 7 feet tall, covered in a carapace-like exoskeleton that shimmered like the deepest ocean abyss. Its eyes, many and multifaceted, glowed with a fierce, almost incandescent light. The room braced for the imminent clash, muscles tensed and weapons readied. Jake, feeling the mounting dread in the saloon, knew that violence would obliterate the fragile peace they had worked so hard to attain. He began to play a somber yet soothing tune on his harmonica, hoping to touch some chord of tranquility within the beast. As the melancholic notes drifted through the air, the Dith warrior's aggressive stance wavered, its multifaceted eyes narrowing in a mix of confusion and curiosity. Exhaling a shaky breath, Jake dared to take a step forward, his harmonica still producing the soulful melody. With painstaking slowness, he approached the Dith warrior, signaling to everyone else to lower their weapons. The creature's aggression seemed to ebb away, disarmed not by force but by the simple, earnest empathy emanating from Jake's music. The atmosphere became almost surreal. Where once there had been imminent violence, now there was an odd, calming stillness. Jake continued his melody until he stood only a meter away from the Death Warrior. With a moment's hesitation, he stopped playing and extended his hand towards the creature. It was a gesture of unarmed goodwill, an invitation for peace. The Death Warrior regarded Jake with an inscrutable gaze before finally, with conspicuous hesitation, it relaxed its stance, a guttural, resonant chime emanating from deep within its chest. It was an otherworldly sound, but to those who witnessed it, the meaning was clear. A truce had been established. In the charged silence that followed, various members of the saloon took cautious steps forward, gradually closing the gap between them and the Death Warrior. First, it was Lumic, the shy Lorian who had slowly grown more confident in the company of humans, who dared to nod at the Death Warrior. Then, a felinx warrior, who had once eyed every other species with disdain, approached with newfound respect. Each movement bore the weight of centuries of mistrust, now gently being ushered to the background. The saloon gradually came alive again, but this time with a renewed sense of unity. It was more than just coexisting, it was an active, deliberate effort to understand one another, to break through the barriers that had long divided them. The sheer plume's eerie, beautiful harmonics, now harmonizing with alien instruments and human voices, filled the air, wrapping the Melith saloon in a symphony of shared wonder. Yet, even amidst this burgeoning harmony, the underlying fragility could still be sensed. The scene before them was nothing short of miraculous, but it remained a delicate, precarious balance that could tip with the smallest nudge. It was a reminder that peace, while beautiful, requires constant nurturing. The saloon, once known for its raucous, segregated atmosphere, had transformed into an experimental haven of interspecies camaraderie. Jake remained at the heart of it all, his harmonica still in hand, ready to play another tune of understanding, another melody of peace. And as the melodies played on, the onlookers were reminded that the journey toward unity is fraught with challenges. Yet, in these shared moments of empathy and courage, even the deepest divides could begin to dissolve. The saloon, now filled with laughter, music, and the ethereal glow of the sheer plumes, stood as a beacon of this tentative, yet profound, interstellar unity. The climax had not been just a single event but the culmination of many acts of bravery and empathy. Yet, amid the newfound harmony, a lingering question darkened the edge of this light. Could this unity withstand the inevitable trials that lay ahead? The melodies continued, intertwining different cultures and histories, creating a delicate tapestry of shared existence. But just as quickly as the music found harmony, a subtle tension remained, hinting at challenges yet to come. The transformation of the Melith saloon into a beacon of interspecies harmony did not happen overnight. It took days, weeks, and months, each moment imbued with struggle, misunderstanding, and perseverance. It began with Jake's seemingly insignificant act of extending his hand in friendship to a defeated felinx warrior. From there, the mosaic of interconnected lives began to change in ways that no one had anticipated. Jake and his crew became the heart of this unbelievable metamorphosis, their actions acting as the glue in a web of disparate lives, hopes, and dreams. The Melith Saloon, a place once plagued by centuries of entrenched prejudices, evolved into an improbable oasis of camaraderie and solidarity. The most striking change was in the relationship between the humans and the felinx. Initially, the felinx had viewed the humans as weak and undisciplined, having no respect for their martial traditions. However, Jake's ongoing demonstrations of valor and respect began to chip away at their biases. The felinx, great believers in honor and integrity, found themselves reluctantly admiring Jake's courage and the humans' willingness to extend trust to those they hardly knew. The lessons learned on both sides reverberated beyond the confines of the saloon. Felinx warriors began to show up not in search of conflict but in pursuit of understanding. They participated in training exercises with the human crew, where they shared combat techniques and strategies. What started as mutual suspicion blossomed into a robust cultural exchange, one that was observed keenly by other inhabitants of the space station. Lumic, the young Lorian, turned from an observer into a central figure within this newfound harmony. Shy and apprehensive at first, Lumic began to actively engage in conversations, asking probing questions about human culture and their perspectives on interstellar coexistence. Lumic's inquisitiveness was not a mere personal endeavor but sparked widespread interest among other Lorian, who were traditionally cautious in their interactions with other species. Their unique technological prowess became a subject of particular fascination for Jake and his crew. The Lorians, known for their exceptional skills in energy manipulation and advanced bioengineering, began sharing their knowledge in small doses. They taught the humans the art of creating sustainable energy sources from seemingly inert materials, a lesson that had far-reaching consequences. In turn, the humans shared their advancements in AI and robotics, setting the stage for collaborative projects that transcended their individual capabilities. Amidst this groundbreaking alliance, the enigmatic sheer plumes remained an ever-present enigma. These floating entities, with their delicate, bioluminescent forms, were a sight to behold. Their haunting melodies added an ethereal layer to the saloon's ambiance, both enchanting and unsettling the other patrons. Intrigued, Jake continued his attempts to communicate with them using his harmonica. Each time, the sheer plumes would respond in synchronized harmony, weaving a complex tapestry of sound that seemed to tell stories beyond the understanding of words. This musical exchange evolved into a nightly ritual, drawing larger crowds who sought not only entertainment but a sense of belonging. The melodies became a universal language, transcending linguistic barriers and igniting a collective sense of unity among the assorted species. Over time, these symphonic dialogues unearthed rudimentary but profound aspects of the sheer plume's culture. They were, at their core, a species dedicated to the preservation of memories through song, a treasure trove of their history encoded in melodies. The humans' ability to meld their tunes with the sheer plume's songs revealed a compelling truth. While traits and technologies might differ, the core essence of sentient beings, their capacity for empathy, creativity, and mutual respect, remained the same. In this evolving tapestry, the arrival of a solitary creature, a behemoth of mysterious origin, caused the saloon to pause in its breathless rhythm. Standing over 10 feet tall with an exoskeleton that shimmered ominously, the newcomer radiated an aura of hostility, ready to strike at the first sign of threat. The air grew thick with tension, all eyes focused on the impending conflict. Once again, Jake chose the path of courage and empathy. Unarmed and unguarded, he approached the formidable being with measured steps. The saloon's patrons held their breath as Jake locked eyes with the creature. He reached out with one hand, palm open in a universal gesture of peace. Surprisingly, the giant reciprocated, lowering its massive form, allowing Jake's hand to touch its leathery skin. This act of vulnerable outreach diffused the tension like a mirage dissipating in the sunlight. The giant, whose hostile demeanor had been a reflexive defense against an unfamiliar world, revealed a softer side. Through gestures and guttural sounds, it conveyed its story. Lost and alone in the vastness of space, it sought refuge and understanding. This revelation stirred the hearts of those present, reaffirming the belief that beneath the most formidable exteriors often lay profound loneliness and a desire for connection. With each passing day, the Melith Saloon thrived as an interstellar sanctuary, an ever-evolving experiment in unity. The once fractured relationships between various species healed, giving way to budding friendships and collaborations. The saloon became a microcosm of what the galaxy could aspire to be. A harmonized blend of cultures, sharing knowledge and fostering mutual respect. Another human, Amelia, a woman known for her gregariousness and relentless vivacity, entered this tableau, much like a cascading burst of sunlight. Her presence had always been larger than life, her exuberance a defining trait. Strangely, in the saloon's new environment, even she experienced a surprising transformation. Surrounded by the ongoing lessons in humility and open-mindedness, Amelia found herself reflecting on her own perceptions and biases. Her interactions grew more nuanced, her laughter warmer and more inclusive. The saloon's atmosphere encouraged even the most confident beings to look inward, fostering a deeper sense of self-awareness and growth. As the weeks turned into months, the Melith Saloon stood as a testament to the possibilities of interspecies cooperation and understanding. Each small act of kindness, every gesture of empathy, resonated through the fortified walls, echoing across the cosmos. The transformation was not just physical but deeply philosophical, fostering a new narrative that reverberated throughout the space station and beyond. The saloon's patrons, once wary of each other, now shared drinks, stories, and dreams. Warrior felinx found common ground with gregarious humans, shy Lorians collaborated with resourceful AI engineers, and even the enigmatic sheer plumes played their melodies in harmony with human instruments. The great behemoth, initially feared, was now a revered guardian of the saloon, standing as a reminder that the most imposing exteriors often concealed the most tender hearts. In the grand scheme of the universe, the Melith Saloon was but a speck of light, a tiny beacon. Yet, its impact was immeasurable. If you liked this story based on real events, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like it. Here you can dive into a different reality every day, where anything can happen. Comment below what kind of story you would like to hear here. Thank you very much for your attention. We are the Sci-Fi family.